Ave Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. As Jesus continued his journey to Jerusalem, he traveled through Samaria and Galilee. As he was entering a village, 10 lepers met him. They stood at a distance from him and raised their voice, saying, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." And when he saw them, he said, "Go show yourselves to the priests." As they were going, they were cleansed. And one of them, realizing he had been healed, returned glorifying God in a loud voice. And he fell at the feet of Jesus and thanked him. He was a Samaritan. Jesus said in reply, 10 were cleansed, were they not? Where are the other 9? Has none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God? Then he said to him, "Stand up and go. Your faith has saved you." The Gospel of the Lord. It seems to me that the world would be a much better place if we became more accustomed to some common courtesies that seem to have dissipated in the last maybe 20 years. Words like please and thank you. Common courtesy words, very affirming and filled with humility. The 9 lepers come to Jesus and they ask to be healed. Only one of them comes back to say thank you. Only one came back to say thank you. This was going to give him a great reward. That word thank you, when we exchange that with someone who does us a favor or helps us, that word brings us into a posture of humility where we're grateful. We're grateful for what has been done, and in humility, we recognize that someone has done us a favor. And generally, it's not necessary to return the favor. The simple thank you is enough. And so when we come to Mass, we experience God's generosity. He gives us himself in the Holy Eucharist. He shares his life, his body, his blood, his soul and divinity. And at the Mass, we see all this as wrapped up in being him sharing his complete suffering on the cross for our sake. And the word Eucharist, if you didn't remember or understand, that word in Greek translates to thank you. We cannot return what God has given us in grace and in mercy and in the invitation to come to him for heavenly grace and a place in heaven. We can never give anything back to him in return, but he is delighted with the simple word that says thank you, which opens the door to bind a relationship between he and us. And so every time we come to Mass, we have a Mass of thanksgiving where we offer our gratitude to God. We have to be careful that when we come to Mass, we don't come here to feel good, although you can get a good feeling from Mass. But sometimes the Mass can disturb us a little. Maybe something in the gospel disturbs us a little and we don't feel good. However, it's God touching our conscience and our soul, revealing something that needs attention. And so when that happens, we can say, thank you, because that might have just got you out of the grasp of the evil one. And so this word thank you becomes very important for us because it's really the only thing we can give back to God after all that he's given to us. And this thank you business, also what you see in the gospel here, it's an invitation for God to do more. Because when we say thank you, we agree that we have a relationship between the one who we thanked and he with us. And so we have this relationship where there's an invitation for each other to give more. And in God's case, here in the gospel, 9 were cleansed from their leprosy, but only 1 was saved because he came back to say thank you. You see, you can be cleansed from leprosy, but to experience God's surety of salvation, that is an eternal gift. A physical healing is not eternal. However, the resurrection is. And as we offer our thanksgiving to God, we become closer to him and closer to what he has called us to in the life of the resurrection, so that we can continue our Thanksgiving feast in heaven, and he can actually thank us for being his beautiful children in whom he delights.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam meruisti portare, alleluia, resurrexit sicut dixit,